Welcome everyone to This Explainer. Today, we're investigating a really fascinating spatial mystery based on a brand new data-driven advocacy report. We're going to look at exactly how urban geography, economics, and public safety all intersect on one incredible map. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this, so grab your notebooks and let's get right into it. Okay, so let's kick things off with a question that hooks right into the central anomaly of our entire investigation today. Why did an entire convenience store chain just completely abandon the heart of a major city? We're talking about a massive, contiguous retail void right in the middle of Winnipeg, Canada. It's this bizarre urban phenomenon that totally defies normal corporate logic, and today we're going to unpack exactly how and why it happened. Section 1. The Commercial Dead Zone. Mapping the Anomaly. The sheer scale of this situation is honestly striking. You have this red boundary that encloses an area of about 22 square kilometers, or roughly 8.5 square miles. That covers much of the central city, the inner west end, the downtown edge, and parts of the north end. And its geometric center falls right near Central Park. But here's the crazy part. There is a stark ring of surviving 7-Eleven locations completely surrounding this empty, void-like interior. It's like a giant donut hole in the middle of the city. Now, you might be wondering, is this just a coincidence? Well, no. This clean central hole isn't just random corporate restructuring or a scattering of weak leases. It is a deliberate retreat. The original corporate warnings specifically flagged safety, theft, and employee risk in these exact areas. So the really crucial takeaway here is that this void serves as a geographic record of accumulated operating failure. It's literally the physical footprint of reputed losses and security expenses, making it impossible to keep the doors open in this specific neighborhood. Section 2. Doing the math, calculating the missing stores. The spatial data analysis brilliantly backs this up. If you draw a ring of the exact same size just outside the dead zone, researchers counted 9 visible 7-Eleven markers. So, projecting that same density inward, the empty center should theoretically hold roughly 8 to 10 stores. And guess what? That map-based expectation perfectly matches the publicly reported closure wave of at least 8 and possibly 9 documented central shutdowns. I mean, the statistical consistency here is just undeniable. But what does this map mean for folks actually living on the ground? Well, from the center near Central Park, reaching a surviving store now requires an 80 to 108-minute walking round trip. To put that into perspective, we're talking 4.1 to 5.3 miles on foot. For a legitimate customer, this is a severe loss of convenience. But for a local, low-mobility offender looking for a quick, low-value theft of, say, chips or energy drinks, this huge travel burden fundamentally shifts their target calculations. The payoff simply isn't worth a 2-hour hike. Section 3. The Economics of Retreat. Following the money. Let's walk through how this all escalated. The whole problem actually started simmering way back in November 2019 with the closure of the 500 William Avenue location due to large volume theft. But it totally exploded in August 2024 when corporate reps warned that up to 10 locations were at risk. From there, it was just a domino effect. By the fall of 2024 and early 2025, stores on Ellis, McPhillips, Pembina, and Salter shut down. And looking ahead to the spring of 2026, the Main Street, Arlington, and Keewatin locations were also gone. It was a rapid, cascading exodus. Which brings us to a frankly staggering financial tipping point. According to early 2025 reporting, some stores were losing up to $600 every single day, and that was strictly to theft. And the crazy thing is, that $600 a day is just the tip of the iceberg. Direct merchandise loss, or shrinkage, alone annualizes to $219,000 a year. Then you have to add in security guards, constant repairs, installing those locked displays, and the massive costs of employee turnover and recruitment because of safety concerns. One Salter Street store reportedly suffered over $300,000 in stolen goods before finally closing. I mean, that kind of loss completely erases a convenience store's operating margin. It literally goes from a profitable business to a total capital drain. Section 4. The Repeat Offender Loop. Identifying the culprits. Now, police records show something really interesting. A neighborhood doesn't actually need thousands of shoplifters to lose its retail base. It only takes a tiny, tiny fraction of high-frequency offenders. For example, the report highlights a 31-year-old suspect linked to 20 thefts, 2 robberies, and multiple breaches, frequently targeting a Keewatin Street location. Another 23-year-old suspect was tied to 22 incidents, including 7 robberies across several convenience store corridors. Just 1 or 2 individuals can generate enough daily incident volume and danger to make an entire store completely unviable. And this builds into a deeply frustrating operational loop within the justice system. It goes like this: arrest, release, a breach of release conditions as they return to those familiar stores to steal again, and then rearrest. The system is continuously processing these chronic offenders without durably interrupting their activity. They just remain in the same walkable retail neighborhood, hitting the exact same stores over and over.
Section 5. Systemic Policy Failures, the Concentration Mechanism.
So how did we get here? Well, the report points out that the city has concentrated a massive share of emergency shelters, low-cost accommodation, subsidized housing, and transit access in this specific inner-city district. And an estimated 8,248 individuals were reported living without stable housing in Winnipeg. Now, the argument here is definitely not that everyone needing services commits crimes. Most absolutely do not. But by concentrating essential services in one highly walkable area, you inadvertently concentrate the much smaller chronic offender subset right alongside them. It leads to an intense overlap of retail targets and repeat perpetrators. Ultimately, it all comes down to a massive cost transfer. The report notes the justice system avoids the immediate fiscal and political cost of detention, while businesses absorb theft, security, and closure costs. When the system fails to hold high-frequency offenders accountable and interrupt their activity, that cost doesn't just magically disappear, right? It gets externalized directly onto frontline clerks, store owners, and local residents who absorb the financial and emotional burden of constant theft. That map we looked at earlier, it's simply this abstract cost transfer converted into a visible geographic reality. And the fallout doesn't stop just because a 7-Eleven locks its doors for good. This creates a severe displacement effect. Closing a store only removes a target. It doesn't remove the offender. Remember that severe walking burden we discussed? Since offenders aren't going to walk 5 miles for a stolen drink, that daily crime wave simply displaces onto nearby dollar stores, pharmacies, and independent mom-and-pop grocers who, frankly, often don't have the corporate backing to absorb the hit. Section 6. Fixing the Retail Void. Policy Solutions. So what can be done? Here are the core policy fixes the report recommends. First, establishing a chronic retail offender program to actively track incidents across multiple stores. Second, the justice system needs to evaluate cumulative risk at bail hearings rather than just viewing charges in isolation. Third, police must enforce release conditions quickly, so a breach actually means a real change in custody status. And finally, there needs to be a geographic distribution of new emergency services, rather than over-concentrating them in one single inner-city neighborhood. This brilliantly ties it all together into a stark warning for policymakers. Business closures must be treated as a public safety performance indicator. If a city's crime count is falling, that is not a success if it's only happening because the stores and targets have already fled the neighborhood for good. A lack of reported crime in a commercial dead zone is literally just a symptom of the retreat itself. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. If these cost transfer policies remain unaddressed and chronic offenders remain in this endless loop, what is the long-term future of our inner-city neighborhoods? It really challenges all of us to consider the lasting impacts of these retail voids on communities that desperately need local services. I hope this explainer sparked your curiosity about the unseen urban dynamics shaping our cities. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep asking the big questions.